of the Buffalo Sabres. Enjoy the crisp, clean taste of Labatt's Blue. Blue Heaven.
The young men who used this room brought Sabres hockey back to the elite level of the NHL during the 1987-88 season. They did it with good coaching, fan support, and most of all, dedication. Their story is one of success, but it wasn't easy. Let's follow the Sabres as they rock 'em.
Farrell coming to center, dumps it off the boards in the corner. Robert going after it.
Rock 'em Sabres, coming on strong. You know we're skating for the top, back where we belong. Rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres.
Shall we go ahead, Brian?
Go right ahead.
The Buffalo Sabres have the pleasure and honor of selecting Granby Bison center Pierre Turgeon.
Those words spoken by Jerry Meehan in June of 1987 sparked excitement prior to the 87-88 season as they made Pierre Turgeon first choice overall. The selection mirrored general manager Punch Imlach's choice of Gilbert Perreault, another Quebec native, in the Sabres' inaugural season. Perreault went on to play 18 seasons in the Sabres uniform and became one of the greatest centers ever in the NHL. The decision to draft Pierre Turgeon was ultimately made by Jerry Meehan, who was in charge of his first NHL draft. Meehan was named general manager 7 months earlier and was vowing to turn around the league's last-place finisher the year before. Meehan's first big move prior to that was hiring head coach Ted Sater. He, along with assistant coaches Barry Smith and Don Lever, had some new ideas and goals for the coming season. The team was all ready to face the challenge of a new season after missing the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Well, I think the objective was to get into the playoffs from day one. But I always thought that was a rather short-sighted goal. I mean, you can get into the playoffs and have a pretty poor season. I think we wanted to have a winning record, create some enthusiasm around the team again, and show the city of Buffalo that we were ready to take that final step forward and get ourselves back into contention for things where for 2 years we weren't. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that we did last year, was show the people of Buffalo that we were ready to come out and to give everything we had and really just try and put our best effort forward every night.
Pierre Turgeon made his NHL debut at Memorial Auditorium in the home opener against Minnesota. The crowd was pounding with excitement, with the anticipation of a new era in the history of the Buffalo Sabres. Scott Arniel scored the club's first goal of the season as Buffalo went on to a 2-2 tie with the North Stars in their first point of the season. The Adams Division rivalry heated up in the first month as Ray Shepard emerged quickly as a sniper. The Canadians had won the first meeting with Buffalo at the Forum, but were treated to a 2-goal performance by Ray Shepard in a rematch at the Auditorium as Buffalo won 5-3 to even the season series at 1 game apiece. The Sabres also took 3 out of 4 points from Quebec in a home-and-home series. Tom Barrasso was in goal for both games, picking up his only win of the opening month. And Clark Gillies scored in each game to add the offensive punch for the Sabres. Hartford's first appearance in the odd matched Whaler Sylvain Turgeon against his brother Pierre in their first NHL meeting. For Pierre, it was a night to remember.
Waiting for it is Creighton, trying to get it back, taken by Smith. Here's Smith, sends it to Housley. Housley with a pass and puts to Turgeon, shoots, he scores! Pierre Turgeon, his first goal in the National Hockey League. He'll work it now in front of the Hartford net, back to Smith with the pass to the far side. Here's Turgeon, shoots, he scores! Pierre Turgeon!
Anytime someone's drafted #1, I think there's always a certain amount of expectation put on him, not just by the fans and the media, but by the players as well. I mean, a lot was expected of him by the players, I think, and fair or unfair, that's the way it was. There's also some jealousy that goes along with the fact that, you know, he was, you know, chosen #1 overall, and other players tend to look at that and say, well, you know, he must think he's a great player. And I think those are problems that he ran into early, but once you met Pierre, you realize that his ego was not a problem. His playing skills are obviously great. It's just a case of bringing him along and having him really come into form as a player. I mean, he was a young 18 years old. He was not an experienced 18 years old, and I think that was probably his biggest problem.
Goaltending became a major issue for the Sabres at the end of October. Tom Barrasso had only one victory in October and was unable to play the consistent hockey the coaches were hoping for. Despite a winning record in the opening month, Jacques Cloutier also couldn't prove he was ready to be number one. That opened the door for Darren Pupa, who started in 3 games straight, winning each one. This win over Chicago put the club above 500 for the first time in the season. Ted Sater gave Darren Pupa a rest when Buffalo faced the Oilers in Edmonton. Wayne Gretzky proved the Sabres had a long way to go in a 5-0 shutout. Pupa was back in goal the following night as Phil Housley set an NHL record. For Housley, it was his 10th goal in 15 games, beating Bobby Orr's defenseman scoring record as Buffalo went on to a 6-3 win. The team returned home following the Western swing to meet Minnesota at the Odd, with Pupa looking for his 5th win in a row. Brian Bellows was the spoiler, scoring a third-period goal to give the North Stars a 5-3 win. 2 nights later, Phil Housley scored a beautiful goal in a 5-4 win over Toronto. But Buffalo went on a skid, losing 5 of their last 6 in November with no sign of consistency.
That was our biggest problem in the first half of the season. We'd win a game, and then we'd lose 2 games, and we'd win another game. And you can't play competitive hockey that way. I mean, we weren't getting blown out of the building very often, but you know, as I said, being competitive and being a winner aren't the same thing. I mean, sure, we were competitive early in the season, but we weren't winning. And you know, we wanted to be a winner. We wanted to jump ahead to the forefront, and we weren't doing that at the time.
The club finished November 1 game under 500 and in 3rd place in the Adams division, 1 point ahead of Quebec and 2 ahead of the Whalers. The ups and downs continued for the Sabres in December as they looked everywhere for consistency. The Sabres opened the month against Quebec with Dave Andrechuk netting the team's first hat trick of the season, including this controversial goal that tied the score at 2. The goal stood despite the protest as Buffalo won by a 6-3 score. The team also suffered a blow that night when Mike Ramsey was lost to the club for 8 games after being suspended for a high-sticking incident in the 3rd period. The first meeting with the Bruins didn't come until December 12th. Tom Barrasso got the call at his home state and was spectacular in the Buffalo net. Adam Creighton scored his 8th and 9th goals of the season in a 3-3 tie with the Bruins, giving the team some important confidence. That confidence was ruined the next night as rookie Joe Nieuwendyk came to the Odd with the Flames. Nieuwendyk scored 4 times in a solid 7-1 thrashing of the Sabres. A home-and-home series with Montreal saw Jacques Cloutier get his first start in over a month. Cloutier was spectacular in a 2-2 tie at the Odd.
Oh, pad save. Cloutier, the puck sitting there. He sprawls and goes through with 1 second to go. Unbelievable goaltending by Jacques Cloutier. Moving in with Ryan Walter. Here's Smith going in on goal. Still has it. He shoots. Cloutier, the save and the rebound.
By the end of the game, Cloutier had turned away some incredible shots, and 21 hours later, Cloutier was at it again in a 2-1 win at the Forum.
Left it for Naslin. Naslin winds up with the drive. Cloutier makes the save. Unbelievable. Jacques Cloutier with 15 seconds to go.
Sends them away, shaking their heads again.
The big weekend against the Canadiens gave the Sabres plenty of confidence when they went on to face the Bruins at the Garden 3 days later. It was a night they would not want to remember.
Hartnell going right in and goal. Shoots. He scores. Buffalo zone against Johansson. Neely trying to get the shot. He shoots. He scores. Cam Neely. Miller with Creighton after him. Oh, he brings it right. He scores. Miller.
The Bruins went on to destroy the Sabres 9-0 as Buffalo hit a season low with Christmas 3 days away. The Sabres' next stop was the Joe Louis Arena, where Darren Pupa was the scheduled starter, but was injured in Boston, putting Barrasso in goal for Buffalo.
Well, I think the game in Detroit was probably the turning point for our season. We went from a team that was struggling. We'd just been humiliated in Boston the night before. I believe we lost 9-0. And we went into Detroit, and basically Ted laid it on the line. He said, you know, we expect more from certain players, and we have to get it. And if you don't get it, if we don't get it, we're going to have to make some moves. And I don't think anybody took that as being an idle threat. And we went out, we played a solid game. I mean, we beat Detroit pretty handily in the game. I mean, the game, in my opinion, was never in question. It was the fighting that was in question. And when the team can pull together as we did to defend each other, that will instill confidence in every player on the team that we're working towards a common goal, and we're working to achieve the same thing, regardless of personalities, regardless of whatever you may think of the guy sitting next to you. You're working for the same thing, and that's for the Buffalo Sabres to be a winning hockey club.
Mike Ramsey was back for his second game when the Sabres met the Penguins 2 days after Christmas. He provided some strong defense while Tom Barrasso played superb in a 2-2 tie. He also played the final 2 games of 1987, playing extremely well despite the club losing both to Quebec and Boston. Jerry Meehan completed his first trade of the season at the end of December as he sent Sabres forward Paul Cyr to the New York Rangers in exchange for left-winger Mike Donnelly. It was a message to the team that the on-ice performance had to change with the new year. That performance did indeed change when Buffalo opened up in 1988 in Toronto. The Leafs had a commanding lead, but the Sabres stormed back with a 6-4 win as Mike Foligno scored twice for Buffalo. The following night, the Sabres met the Nordiques at the Auditorium. Scott Arniel scored the game winner in a 2-1 win over the Nordiques. Tom Barrasso, in his 6th consecutive start, was proving he was the team's #1 goaltender and forced management to option Darren Pupa to Rochester the following day. The club's next stop was at the Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens had a 5-2 lead after 2 periods when Buffalo staged their amazing comeback.
Coming up with it is Shepard. Shepard has it, lets the drive go. He scores! Foligno gives it to Krupp. Krupp winds up with the shot. They score! There is it. It's still loose.
Hungry. There it is.
Scores! Here's Arniel. He's got Smith and Richuk. They come in over the Montreal line. Arniel going in and goal. The drive. Oh, it's in the goal crease.
Tim.
Scores! And Richuk. And Richuk has scored. Are they waving it off?
The light's on. The referee was not there. That goal will count.
And the referee had just come from the far side. He was not along the goal line. Yes, it counts.
Yeah, we went from a club that really had no identity. We had no team spirit. There was no direction. To suddenly we were a team that, you know, we gained some confidence. We started playing well. We weren't intimidated to go into anyone else's building and play. We felt that no matter who we stepped on the ice with, we had a good chance to beat them. And we played confident hockey, and we played the style of hockey that we felt we needed to play. It's not pretty hockey. I mean, it's not fancy up and down, but we dig it out of the corners, we throw it to the front of the net, and we try and, you know, we stuff it in there, and we play solid defense. And that was, you know, where we made our big move. I think we were in 5th place going into that month, and we made a big move from 5th to 3rd and really put some room between ourselves and the rest of the pack. And that was the big turning point there.
The Sabres ended their 40-game segment on a 3-game winning streak and were 1 game under 500. The club was in 3rd place in the Adams Division, 3 points ahead of Quebec. The Sabres carried a 6-game winning streak when they traveled to Philadelphia to take on the Flyers January 14th. Tom Barrasso had started the previous 10 games and was given a rest as Jacques Cloutier took over in goal. The Flyers were sparked by Dave Brown's 2-goal performance, including this goal as they skated to a 3-1 victory, halting Buffalo's winning streak at 6. The team continued to surprise the rest of the league as they won 10 of 15 games in January. Christian Ruutu scored 10 goals during the month and was chosen to represent the Sabres for the Wales Conference in the NHL All-Star Game in St. Louis. The crowds at Memorial Auditorium were also cheering the performance of Tom Barrasso. Barrasso became the first Sabre ever to be named the NHL's Player of the Month as he won 10 games, lost 3, and tied 2. Barrasso and Ruutu's awards were a testament to the overall performance of the Sabres as they made waves throughout the league. The Sabres continued to surprise the NHL as they won 6 of 11 games in February. Rookie Ray Shepard had an outstanding month as he scored 8 times, including his first NHL hat trick against the Nordiques. Shepard also became the first Sabre ever to be awarded the league's Rookie of the Month award, and by season's end, the freshman netted 38 goals and earned a spot on the NHL's All-Rookie team. The Sabres and the Bruins rivalry heated up toward the end of the season, providing fans with some of the most exciting hockey of the year. Buffalo defeated the Bruins twice in the final 3 meetings, including a shutout, as they battled for every inch of the ice. The Hartford Whalers had beaten Buffalo in 4 of their first 6 meetings. It was a different story in the final 2 games against Hartford, as Buffalo won both contests. The Sabres continued to play an exciting brand of hockey as the regular season came to a close. The team had emerged as a club that was capable of beating any team on any given night, and played with a consistency that was nowhere to be seen early in the season. They played with confidence, enthusiasm, and excitement, and provided fans with thrills and chills and a drive for a playoff spot. They secured 3rd place in the Adams Division, and more importantly, a trip to the Stanley Cup playoffs, where the club had been absent for nearly 3 years. Their performances were orchestrated by the coaching staff, who were led by head coach Ted Sater. They deserve plenty of credit for the club's drastic improvement of 21 points from the previous season, which vaulted the Sabres into the top 1/3 of the league.
I think Ted Sater, Barry Smith, and Don Lever are just as big of a reason that the team has really started to go in the right direction as all our players are. And I think we respect them enough that we have a great deal of confidence with where they're taking the team, and that's probably as important as the systems they teach us, is the fact that we believe in what we're doing. And for years we didn't. We always thought we were possibly moving in the wrong direction, possibly doing things that we felt we shouldn't have done. And as players, whether that's right or wrong is not my decision, but that's how we felt. And with Ted and Barry and Donnie, we've seemed to really believe in what we're doing, and that's probably just as big a key as the fact of how, the effort we give on the ice.
The club finished the regular season with 85 points. They were the most improved team in the league and finished ahead of the 4th-place Nordiques by 16 points. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs opened up on April 6th at the Boston Garden, where Buffalo had a win and a tie in 4 regular season meetings with the Bruins. Midway through the first period, the Bruins broke open the scoring on a power play. Boston controlled the action inside the Buffalo zone, and Ken Linsman set up rookie Glenn Wesley, who beat Tom Barrasso, and the Bruins took a 1-0 lead over the Sabres. 2 minutes later, the Sabres took advantage of their first power play as Phil Housey let go with a blast that beat Reggie Lemelin to knot the game at 1 goal apiece. Three minutes into the second period, Keith Crowder made his way into Buffalo territory and dropped it off to Ray Bourque, who beat Barrasso on the stick side, giving the Bruins a 2-1 lead. Tom Barrasso remained sharp in the Buffalo net, keeping the Sabres in the game with saves like this. The Bruins blew the game wide open when the Sabres went on the power play midway through the second period. A costly mistake by Buffalo at their own blue line gave Steve Kasper a chance to give Boston a 2-goal lead. The Bruins then added another insult, scoring their second shorthanded goal just 57 seconds later as Gord Kluzak made it 4-1, and the Bruins went on to a 7-3 victory over Buffalo. Besides the hockey, the game featured almost 150 minutes in penalties as the heated rivalry between the two clubs was even hotter in postseason play. Game 2 at the Garden was also a physical affair as both teams used their muscle to intimidate one another. Reggie Lemelin proved to be the difference as he stopped Buffalo time and time again in a 4-1 win over the Sabres as tempers continued to escalate. The series shifted back to Buffalo for Game 3 with Boston holding a 2-0 lead. Andy Moog got the start in the Boston net, while Tom Barrasso got his third consecutive playoff start for Buffalo. It was the Sabres' first playoff game in front of their home crowd in nearly 3 years, and Ted Sater and his club didn't want to disappoint the fans of Buffalo, who had patiently waited.
Into this side of the net, down to Tucker, they score! Into the corner, 3 seconds left in the Buffalo power play. Here's Rutu, trying to move in on goal. Far side, the drive, he scores! Mike Polino! Comes Tucker trying to get to it. Tucker got in there, touched it first. There's no icing. Back it comes down to the line. There's a pass right through. On the rebound, he shoots, he scores! John Tucker! Puck picked up by Johansson. Hansen jumps it ahead to Tucker. Tucker going ready to go, shooting. He's tripped up. It could be a penalty shot. And Tucker, here he comes. In on goal with the breakaway. Tucker going in, shoots, he scores! John Tucker! And the Sabres take a 4-2 lead. Tucker with the hat trick. And Rachuk into Tucker. Tucker still with it through the bar. They score! Tucker! Here comes.
We still felt as though, we could beat them. We'd had trouble beating them in Boston all year. They played with tremendous confidence in the Boston Garden. They play almost a different game than they do when they're on the road, and I think that showed in Game 3 here in Buffalo. We were able to, I think, turn things 180 degrees around the other way. I think we played with the confidence they had in Boston, and they seemed timid in Game 3 here, and home ice advantage in the playoffs is really of immeasurable use, and I think it was really evident in that series because the home ice advantage in that series meant everything.
Darren Pupa started Game 3 at the odd when Tom Barrasso left the pregame warm-up with a groin injury. Both teams scored in the first and second periods, carrying a 2-2 tie into the third period. Buffalo scored 2 quick goals to open the third period to give the Sabres a 4-2 lead. But Boston fought back quickly on goals by Rick Middleton and this one by Cam Neely, who tied the score at 4 with a little over 6 minutes left in the game as the Bruins fans celebrated while the odd fell silent. The goal didn't faze the Sabres as they came right back at Boston following the faceoff. Mark Napier brought the puck into the Bruins zone and got it back to Phil Housley, who drilled one by Andy Moog to restore the Sabres' 1-goal lead just 13 seconds later to bring the fans back to their feet. The emotional roller coaster continued when the Bruins' Cam Neely scored his second goal of the game with less than a minute and a half to play to tie it at 5 and send the game into overtime. At the 5:08 mark of overtime, the Sabres received a break when Mike Foligno was sent in all alone on Reggie Lemelin. Glenn Wesley appeared to have made a terrific defensive play, but instead was called for tripping, giving the Sabres a power play and a chance to tie the series at 2 games apiece. It was here on the ensuing faceoff the team would turn the series around.
On the draw, the puck will go to the corner. Kluzak. He's stopped. Here's Tucker behind the net with it. Tucker now is checked, but he still has control. Tucker now works it back to Housley. Housley giving it to Tucker. Here's Andrechuk in front of the net. Tucker's side of the net now to Turgeon. Turgeon slides it back to Tucker. Back to Housley. Housley giving it to Tucker. Winds up, shooting. He scores! He scores! The Buffalo Sabres have won it in overtime. 6-5 over the Bruins. to the Memorial Auditorium.
The Sabres carried their enthusiasm back to Boston for Game 5. The spirit of the team's fans were with the club as well as they prepared for the pivotal game.
Everybody got confidence right now, and we got to keep going like that, and we got to be ready because they will be ready, so that's going to be a good game tonight.
The team's desire to improve during the regular season paved the way for their appearance in the playoffs, and Ted Sater continued to instill confidence heading into this crucial game. The Bruins made it 2-0 midway through the first period when Rick Middleton beat both Phil Housley and Tom Barrasso on this beautiful individual effort. The Sabres fought back in the second period when Christian Ruutu scored his first playoff goal, beating Reggie Lemelin just under his glove to make it 2-1 Boston. The leading scorer during the regular season, Dave Andreychuk, then let go with a slap shot to tie the score at 2. The Bruins held on to a 5-3 lead late in the third period when Ray Shepherd scored to put the Sabres within 1. But it wasn't enough as the Bruins took a 3-2 lead in the series with a 5-4 victory. The battle shifted back to Buffalo for Game 6, where the Sabres hoped to even the series. The Bruins had other ideas as they went on to a 5-2 victory, winning the series 4-2 and ending the Sabres season of ups and downs. The first round meeting between the Sabres and Bruins was considered the toughest and one of the most exciting. Despite the playoff loss, the future was as bright as ever as the team showed a winning attitude that hadn't been seen in years.
I would like to see us get to the point where we were 5 years ago, my first year in the league, when we'd walk into a building and other teams were afraid to play us. That's not going to come overnight, but I think that's our long-term goal, is to get back to teams being intimidated by what the Buffalo Sabres can do, and when you achieve that, that alone will win hockey games for you.
The Sabres rocked them to that bittersweet end on Memorial Auditorium ice. But even the disappointment was tinged with thoughts of a brighter future. Soon these stalls will come alive with players who promised to rock them even harder in 1988-89. The Sabres are back in the hunt for the Stanley Cup.
Rock 'em Sabres, coming on strong. You know we're skating for the top, back where we belong. Rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres, rock 'em Sabres.
Rock'em Sabres has been presented by Labatt's Blue, Canada's #1 beer and beer sponsor of the Buffalo Sabres. Enjoy the crisp, clean taste of Labatt's Blue. Blue Heaven.